Hello to episode 97. Amazing wave, Jess. I like that. Love
Crushed
the
it.
energy. We found another friend, and actually, it is a new friend for me because April and we really have never met. Look at that. April, thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure meeting you. For those that are kind of in the same boat as me and have never met you, who are you?
So, Ben, thank you for having me. I am April Yoho. I'm a senior developer advocate at GitHub. I'm based in the UK, not far from Jess, and I work with developer toolings, DevOps technologies, and products and kind of concepts around DevOps. Been in tech for over 25 years. Previously at Microsoft, working in cloud native transformation, and I moved to GitHub because it's where all the cool kids are.
Nice. And you're a cool
Nothing.
kid.
No, but I'm trying to
Apparently.
In.
Did you hear her say senior? So she's basically leading the cool kids pack.
That's
This is
right.
what's
I
happening.
wish. When it says staff behind my title, then I'll be cool.
That's what we know.
So many rules. So many rules. Hits F5 on LinkedIn updates. But anyways, while we're all waiting for that, let's get to our first question that we have on the show every single week, April. And this may be a bit more difficult because you're coming from a way broader background, as you've just stated, so more cloud native than data native, if that makes sense. But what is your favorite data feature? And make sure we're going to love your answer. Make it extra sure.
It's telling Jess how much I don't love data. Actually, my favorite data thing.
Love it.
What? That's not true. You love data.
Do I?
I've seen many of your presentations where you admit it's never been recorded, but you've admitted to loving data.
See, it's not proof then. I love that data gives us analytics, gives us information, and what it can provide us. However, I'm not good at manipulating the data, but I think it's an important thing in how we make it resilient, how we leverage it, and how we use it to make further decisions, especially in like the DevOps space and the automation space.
Mhm.
Data drives
Yeah,
our
totally.
decisions.
So I like to consider you as data adjacent because we can't do a lot of the data things we do without the DevOpsy and the automation, and especially GitHub now, right? Like all that stuff is becoming way more close, like a close neighbor to the data space than it was a few years ago.
Hugely, and we're seeing a lot more data people, and I use the word developer, and it might ruffle some feathers, but do more development in the data space because we're able to manipulate data, and our customers are coming to us with applications, but they're all collating data, and that's the key part. Is then what do we do with that data? How do we leverage it? And it's also getting metrics out of it, how we perform as DevOps teams, how we're able to write code, how we function as a business or an organization. So I work a lot with enterprises that are like, we have data, what do we do with it? And it's about leveraging that to do better.
You also have a bunch of data around the DevOps stuff, right? Like data about the data.
A huge amount. I mean, there's tons of data in DevOps because if you complete a development cycle, you deliver something, what do you do for the next phase, right? Or the next sprint cycle? And that is going to be data driven. And that's the monitoring and observability and metrics that you get off the back of it. We're actually seeing a lot of data in AI, and AI is everywhere we go now. We're talking a lot about how we measure success, and that's more data. That's collating more data. People are pulling metrics from GitHub Copilot and all the AI systems and what they're able to drive. And actually, when you adopt any new tech or make a culture change in your organization, it's always about the data that drives the decision. Because at the end of the day, we're measuring ROI in our organizations for in tech, and sometimes there's not always a dollar value on that, and sometimes there is. But there usually is a dollar value attached to it. You know, time saved, more efficient developers, being able to deliver things faster, manipulate our data better, resiliency in our data, how we store it, how we moderate it. In the EU here, we have a lot around data residency, so we do talk a lot about data.
See, you secretly love it.
I don't.
I knew it.
One day you're gonna like.
April's got a crush on data. April's got a crush on data.
No.
Well, we'll take it as a love-hate relationship. How's that?
Fantastic. Perfect. Yeah, I think as soon as you
Cool.
say data, people come after you and have data questions, and that's when I just run the other direction.
See, I feel like we have the same thing though, right? Because like you said with developers, like us data people are becoming closer to being developers and we're scared of that. And you on the other side are becoming more data driven and you're scared of that. So we got to work together. We got to become friends.
We come together in our fears.
exactly. It's awesome.
Well, and our joys. Let's not
Yes,
forget
true.
about that. But I was
True.
going to say the same
True.
thing. Like a couple of years back, something like a deployment pipeline for just regular SQL, for example, rare. Whereas now people are getting better at it.
Hmm.
Not good, but
Totally.
better. And that's just one of tons of examples where these two worlds collaborate / clash, I guess.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, totally.
but I can see that.
Yeah. And there's a
Love
lot
it.
of data in containerization and cloud native now.
Yep.
Mhm.
We're containerizing databases and we're attaching to data. I think the probably the most interaction I have with data is through connection strings in code and how we connect to it and how we access it. That's probably kind of the biggest space we see a lot as well.
Put the password in plain text in the code. Done.
Yes, every time.
Problem solved.
Yes. That gets us so many places. There's actually great stories about like Uber. They keep doing that and they keep getting exposed and sharing everyone's data where they shouldn't be sharing it. So,
So you're saying
Yeah.
sharing isn't always caring?
sharing is not always caring, unfortunately.
It's a
I got to
shame.
do some code updates later today.
You and me both.
Perfect. Well, good news is since recording to coming out, we've got a bit of time, so everything's fixed by now, I'm sure.
Yes.
By the time people are watching, the billions of viewers, everything's secure.
Always secure. There's security tools for that as well.
So what you're saying is just people will be storing that one single password they're using for everything in a more secure place. Perfect. Love it.
Exactly. That's right.
Hopefully.
It's back to being on a post-it.
Yeah. So how many
Which is
post-its
honestly
are
more
you right
good than
now?
having it in plain text in your code that will then be checked in. But
True.
also
True,
don't
true.
put it on a post-it, please. Pretty
Very
weird.
true.
Be better security all around. All right, before we fall into a security hole here, let's move on to the second question of the podcast, which is what your favorite non-data thing is.
Cake.
Okay, perfect.
No,
That also answers
tech-related.
Head on
our
to
third
the-
question. And with that, thank you everyone so much.
Mic drop on them out. No, my favorite non-data thing, is this like tech-related or non-tech related?
No, it could be whatever. Hobby, food. I mean, cake fits into that. That's fine.
Yeah, actually, no, because you guys are gonna ask me what my favorite food is, so that I have to like retract my answer now.
Okay, save
My
that for the next
favorite
question.
thing, non-data. I'm gonna go scuba diving, and there is data actually. There's a lot of data in this, and I could go on a data rant about scuba diving. But yeah, scuba diving.
Nice.
Where do
We
you
have
store
found
your scuba diving data? Is it a big Excel sheet? Is it a
So that's a fun one. Okay, so I've been scuba diving for 31 years. So back in the day, 31 years ago, you had a physical logbook of your dive time. Like you had a watch basically that said, I went diving to this depth for this amount of time. So you had a bottom timer and a depth gauge. Now we have computers. I have 2 computers, and often I'm comparing that data because I'm measuring gas absorption in my body in a very because I do a lot of tech diving. So because
a
I'm
lot of
working with
sorry, what diving?
tech diving, so technical diving, so deep wreck diving, mixed gases, so what they call tech diving. So anything above, like imagine a scuba diver with a single tank with they'll have air on their back. So what's that? 21% oxygen, 79% nitrogen. When you start doing tech diving, you start changing your oxygen mixtures. And I do quite a bit of deep diving, and I use something called a rebreather, and that is fairly well computerized, and that's sending data to a handset on a dive. So I'm measuring CO2 consumption, what my oxygen levels are doing, because it actually can kill you. And this is an interesting thing. I have a lot of friends in the industry that do research on diving accidents, and all this data is fed into the computer. And it's stuff that like normal people, you and I, would not have access to, but the manufacturers do. They pull a lot of this data out to make diving safer. They also use a lot of it to talk about gas absorption, because gas absorption is a theory. And by having all the data around how pressures and depths and ascent rates when you're coming up from your dive make an impact on your body. So there's a lot of data around it. So I now import this data. I don't use a logbook anymore. I have my 2 computers, and it goes into an app. And off that app, I see a ton of data. The app is actually called Subsurface. It's open sourced, but like I thought about contributing to it and doing something cool with it, but it meant doing a lot with data that scares me. But the output is really good. So you see graphs, you can see what your air consumption is. You can see your gas mixtures and the impact on your body over time. Plus, you can get so much data. And a lot of people don't really leverage it in diving, but I do review some of my data, not all of it, but it's more at the time of, and then you can upload it to the tab and review it over time. So you can look at, your gas consumption rate. You can measure that pretty accurately. And that's how you measure how much air you need when you go diving, which is really important because you depend on it.
That's a nice to have for sure.
That's the first data point. It's a Boolean. Died, yes, no. True, false. Or to give it a more positive note, survived, true, false.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
We found a lot of people's favorite non-data thing has had kind of a data aspect to it. So I'm not surprised that all of us in like the tech industry, a lot of our hobbies have been dataized a bit, right? With Garmin.
It is a bit surprising coming
diving
from someone
apps.
that is apparently scared of data.
It's a lie.
Well,
I
if the problem is if I say data out loud and if I say it 3 times, people come swarming and then start asking me lots of data questions. Whereas my data interest is like understanding performance. So the scuba diving thing, and I do triathlon as well. Jess has seen me do my bike racing. Like I'm measuring my heart rate. I measure all sorts of things on my bike. I have way too much data coming in that I don't even review it. I have a triathlon coach that manages most of that for me, but there's a ton of data we get from our bodies physiologically. And I think it's just cool because you can push the limit, know when to push the limit, when you shouldn't. Same thing with scuba diving. But yeah, if I say data 3 times, they're all just like the questions will come.
You said it twice.
But who's counting?
Actually, we could probably just make a clip, Ben, in the post-production. Can you just add data in 3 times in a row?
Don't worry, she's going to say the 3rd time by herself, so no need for me.
Perfect.
We should definitely not only have a marching band, but we should also have a sports team of the podcast guests at this point, because we had Valerie, who's also doing scuba diving. We had Mark, who's also riding bikes. We had a couple of runners, actually. So we had swimmers. We had everything.
Yep. It's good.
So
lots of fitness, which is important when our 3rd question is the balance. To the
so
fitness,
I'm trying
right?
to find a segue to a question whose answer I know, but
answer we get all
April,
surprised.
I have no idea what you may say now, but what's your favorite food?
Not cake. Buffalo wings.
Wait, what?
Buffalo wings. I'm changing it from before. I'm going buffalo wings. Throwing in a surprise for you.
Perfect.
Yep.
You managed.
I love wings.
I love wings. Literally every time I fly into the US, my first meal is buffalo wings every time, or maybe tacos if I can't get buffalo wings. But it has to be either buffalo wings or tacos.
Is it at a specific place or just any?
You know what? Because I go to different parts of the US, I don't usually get that option. But if I can find somewhere with decent buffalo wings, and blue cheese dressing, I'm usually.
You lost me at blue cheese.
Yeah,
I'm a ranch girl.
I like blue cheese, but it has to be good blue cheese, and just yeah. But yeah, if I get off a plane, that's like the first thing I go for every time. And then, you literally can sit me at a bar with buffalo wings, and I'll just be happy for the next few hours.
Just covered in sauce and blue cheese. Living the dream.
Maybe we could add a picture of that in post-production. That we could do.
Just covered in sauce. Nice.
No.
Yeah, I also love wings, and whenever I go to the States, I do try and get some. When I was in California end of last year, and I went to a brewery, and they were like, "Oh, there's this massive list of beers," and I was like, "Actually, I don't drink alcohol at all, but I heard you had really good wings, so I'm just here for those." And just sat there by myself eating wings. It was amazing.
Awesome. Yeah, I definitely rate wings, and I was in the US last week actually, and I had tacos one night and wings the first night and then tacos the second night. So it was like the trifecta of food for me. So that was pretty good.
Yeah.
What kind of tacos are we talking?
So I had, I can't remember the name, but one was like a fish taco. The other one was like a shrimp taco.
Nice.
But had like fresh, like cabbage slaw that they made. And it was pretty good. Found like a little taco place in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was pretty solid.
Well, I don't eat meat, but I do eat fish and seafood. So you lost me at wings, but you had me at
regained.
How about cauliflower wings, Ben? Have you ever had cauliflower wings?
Not with blue cheese, but
That's
also
because
not
blue
with
cheese is
ranch.
gross.
Well, that is the main, true, and only reason. Accurate.
But buffalo sauce on cauliflower is pretty good. If you find some like really good cauliflower wings, they're pretty solid. I'll eat those as well. They don't
Mhm.
replace buffalo wings for me, but they are like a good snack.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm wondering,
Totally
Jess,
agree.
if we need to impose some kind of a "we listen and we don't judge" rule on this podcast when it comes to stuff like blue cheese, because
Sorry.
everybody, someone brings it. No,
I won't yell at the guests again.
oh no, please yell at the guests. I mean, that's the great thing about our concept; they can never be back anyway. So what's the worst thing? Them not coming back? I mean,
Exactly.
but
Well,
let's
Jess,
not
do you
go
like
there.
Marmite?
I do not.
Okay, never mind. I
Mm-mm.
was going to make fun of you for that. I mean, there's
Nope.
lots of British foods that I think are disgusting. Salad cream,
Yep.
Marmite.
Okay, I do love salad cream, but I like salad cream just one time a year on my Christmas dinner sandwich that I have the night of Christmas dinner.
That is
That's when I like
absolutely
salad cream.
disgusting.
Oh,
That's
it's
disgusting.
delicious. Turkey stuffing, salad cream. Anything else you can find.
I
This
might
is getting
have
to a
rescind
point
our
where I
friendship
feel
here.
like, what is happening and why? And 15 minutes are over. Thank God. So, because I was really scared that we're going to pick up a couple of more very hideous foods, not only from the UK, because once you start, I mean, where do you end? But say no to
It's
Marmite.
true.
This is today's message from all of us to all
Say
of
no to Marmite.
Accurate.
And with that, April, again, pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you, Jess. Thank you, everyone, for watching. And we see you all next week with yet another friend. Bye.
Bye, folks.